Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number. Go ahead, Mr. Grizzly. 500 and what?
66, I believe.
Yes, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him. Hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me is my friend, Mr. Grizzly. Today, recording day is Friday, January 24th, 2025, and it's a day here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm your host, Eager Beaver, pronouns he. I said that already. It's just not been a good day. Kids, already, as you can tell by my voice, I'm not in the best mood. And Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
Well, it started off great, but everything, technologically speaking, failed miserably. I logged into the studio, and it would not register with our YouTube channel. So I reset it 6 times. Finally, I said, okay, let's just try a whole new thing. So I had to rebuild the whole thing from scratch, which doesn't have all the assets. It's a real pain in the butt when this happens. I have no idea why it happened, but it eliminated everything that we had in there. So I had to rewrite everything.
Yep.
That's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But
and
sorry, I was going to say I do have something that might cheer you up, though, a little bit.
Okay.
This.
Yes. That's pretty cool.
I thought you'd like that.
I'm particularly buff in the chest area. Thank you to whoever did that.
That was Uncover the News who sent that to me. And I loved it. I go, that's perfect. I'll take that. Yeah.
Yes, because if you see me in real life up here, it's Pancake City. So
It's pretty close to the real thing with me, just a little less body hair.
Yeah.
A little less body hair.
Get some cups. So yeah, just to explain why I'm not my normal sunny self. Unfortunately, I woke up this morning and found out that there's a emergency. Nothing life threatening or even disturbing in that sense or whatnot. But I am playing in a big curling bonspiel over the next couple of days, the biggest one I've played in for the longest time, and I'm actually playing with a skip that is really good. So we
skip would be like a team captain, correct? Just
right. The person that calls the person who calls the game for your team and usually throws the last 2 stones, not always, but usually. We've had people on our original lineup falling sick, so we were calling all people, trying to find spares, replacements, so we're not playing with the team that we were supposed to play. And then, so we lost yesterday, and our first match is at 9 a.m. today, except it's at the other curling club in town. And guess who forgot to bring their curling shoes home?
Oh, no.
because I have never, ever, 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 ever once ever played at that curling arena since I've moved to Kingston.
So you've got
So I was at the banquet and then just grabbed my jacket and then went home. Never occurred to me I don't have shoes, and the curling club at which I regularly play at opens at 9, but I have to be on the ice at the other one at 9. So I don't know how I basically have to be at the door of the old curling club at 9 so I could pick up the shoes to show up at the other curling club about 40 minutes late for the match. And sabotage the entire team.
Yeah.
And nobody's awake yet, so nobody knows.
Yeah, so that's yeah. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. So I'm not having a good morning because I'm basically guaranteeing, after being the best thing on the team yesterday, I'm going to completely sink the team today. Yay me.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's a bummer, dude. Like, what else can I say? That's a bummer.
Which means if we lose, that means that we automatically have to play again at 1:00 today, which means the entire day is gone.
Well, I think this particular image was kind of both of our moods this morning, right? Although the mic seems to be floating in midair, but then again, mine floats in midair because of the green screen, right? Because
Right.
the mic arm covered in green fabric, so it looks legit.
God, what a morning. Okay. But kids and cubs, you didn't come for our drama. You came for the actual drama.
Boys, there's some drama, man. Like, where do you begin?
Well, let's begin with the stuff that really actually matters and that's important to us,
Right.
kids and cubs, and for the little bit of time that you do have me before I have to run. Yesterday was the deadline to get the paperwork in with regard to the Liberal leadership race. And it seems that not only do we have more hopefuls than we thought we would have, but we have a couple of very interesting last minute entries that a lot of people are wondering, are these legitimate entries or what? Now the party is going to give itself a couple of days to review all the applications and make sure they're in order. If there's anybody they need to disqualify, they will. I have a feeling they might, considering what has happened. But according to Davis Legree here at iPolitics, as government House Leader, Karina Gould officially enters the race to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. She does so with very little support from her cabinet and caucus colleagues, but that doesn't faze her. Gould, speaking with reporters after submitting her candidacy papers at the Liberal Party office on Thursday, touted her leadership campaign as grassroots and people-powered. Gould acknowledged she didn't have deep pockets like some other contenders, but emphasized how the results of the leadership contest are not dependent on bank accounts or endorsements, but rather the feelings of Liberal members. Quote, "It has been 2 weeks since I decided to join this race," said Gould, "and in 2 weeks, we have built a national organization and heard from people right across the country who tell me they are rejoining the Liberal Party or joining the party for the first time because they're excited about my candidacy." Public opinion data suggests Gould faces an uphill battle to securing the leadership, with most polling framing the race as a battle between ex-Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland and former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney. The two frontrunners have also hoovered up most of the endorsements from the Liberal MPs and cabinet ministers. According to iPolitics' latest endorsement tracker, 10 ministers are supporting Carney, while 4 have said they're backing Freeland. Gould, who has been in cabinet since 2017, has not received any cabinet endorsements. Meanwhile, within caucus, 25 Liberals have announced they're endorsing Carney compared to 19 who prefer Freeland. So far, 2 MPs, Pam Damoff and Lisa Hepfner, have publicly endorsed Gould. And it seems that there are a couple of MPs that said that they weren't running again, that have decided that they are going to run again. So Mr. Long from out in Atlanta, Canada, who has been leading the charge since the summer, saying that Trudeau must go, is suddenly deciding, hey, I might run again. And Helena Jacek, who was once a minister of one of those economic development portfolios for Southern Ontario, who was the one who said to the mic to a microphone after the Christopher Freeland thing that what the Prime Minister didn't give her the impression that he was trustworthy anymore in her eyes. Well,
Right.
she's running again. So interesting what a difference a few weeks makes. Gould also provided a sneak preview of her policy vision for Canada as she committed to keeping the consumer carbon price and redesigning the federal government proposed capital gains tax increase. Carney and Freeland have reportedly both committed to scrapping the carbon tax, while other news outlets have reported that Freeland is also planning to abandon the capital gains changes, which she initially introduced in last year's budget. It'd be interesting to hear her explanation with regard to that. So Liberal Party members must register by January 17th, as I mentioned. But we have a certain, and Gould was the big one that we were wondering, because people were wondering, will
Right.
she have the money and all that kind of stuff? And sure enough, there was no problem for her to raise that money, at least for the first one. But we have 7 candidates all of a sudden. And if you're wondering, well, wait a minute, 7? We weren't talking about that many.
No.
Well, according to CBC's Catherine Tunney, several candidates vying to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau say they've submitted their paperwork and met the first financial hurdle to enter the race, although it could still take a few days to see who's made the cut. Candidates Karina Gould, Christopher Freeland, Mark Carney, those are the 3 we expected. Jaime Batiste did get his paperwork
Yes.
in, so
Okay,
he's got
excellent.
the first 50. Good. Now, the 2 people that announced early, Chandra Arya, who said he would have no trouble, and people are still asking questions about, he's got his in. Frank Bayliss, the businessman who said he was running, and then we didn't hear much from him since, did get his papers in. And then there's somebody named Ruby Dalla, who used to be an MP for the Liberals.
That name rings a bell, but I can't put a face to it.
It does ring a bell. She was pretty well known back in the
Okay.
time. I believe she may have even had some cabinet positions, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to go look up her Wikipedia for that to be sure. But yes, all of a sudden, she is back, and she has changed since we've last seen her in public. Her look has changed. There's some.
She had a bit of a makeover.
Yes, she had a bit of a makeover with regard, I would assume, to either surgery or some temporary procedures. She was the member of Parliament for Brampton Springdale from 2004 to 2011, so she was never an MP under Justin Trudeau. She was not a minister, but she was known as being a very good organizer back in the day. Unfortunately, her political career got cut a bit short due to a bit of a scandal having to do, I believe, with hiring a nanny
Oh.
of some type. Yeah. I'll just look it up here for you. Dalla resigns as critic. Okay, she wasn't. That's why she had a lot of visibility. She was a critic. She never was a minister, but a critic, because she was she was on the opposition benches when she was in government. But yes, according to the CBC on May 6, 2009, Dalla resigns as critic, vows to clear her name in nanny scandal. Accusations that she had illegally hired and then mistreated 2 caregivers was the scandal. Magdalene Gordo and Richland Thompson said that they were hired to look after Dalla's mother, but ended up washing cars, cleaning chiropractic offices, and even polishing the shoes of Dalla's brother.
I could see how that be deemed as mistreatment.
Yes,
That
she was the
doesn't sound right.
Yes, she was the party's multiculturalism critic at the time. Gordo and Tungsten claimed that they earned $250 a week, working to 12 to 16 hours a day at the Dalla family home in Mississauga, and that Dalla seized their passports. In a statement released to the media, Dallas says she's given up her critics' role. She was given up her critics' role, quote, in order to focus my attention on clearing my name, and that she, quote, vigorously defend her reputation. Quote, I will work with the appropriate officials to ensure the facts of the matter are clarified and corrected regarding my family's experience with live-in caregivers, and will work vigorously to defend my reputation. So, yeah. So that's a little bit what's in her past. Uh, she has some interesting things to say
Hmm.
today that would give you the impression that since she has been a liberal, and even though she still calls herself a liberal, um, she might either be on Team Trump or Team Modi.
Oh, really? That I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's problematic.
A little problematic. So I could send you a little video here, Mr. Grizzly, and you will see it's not very long. It's just a couple of seconds, but she posted something just saying, "This is why I'm running," with
Okay.
a finger pointed down, saying, "Look to this," with hashtag Ruby 4 p.m. And it is only 19 seconds, uh, but yeah, it's okay. This is an interesting debut.
Oh,
Yeah.
just trying to
Um,
get the. There it is. Okay, I've got it now.
yeah.
Just waiting for it to load in here. Oh, yeah. She looks different.
She looks different than if you have if later on a before photo from like around 20, you'll see
See
that she
if I
looks
can
different.
find one. She looks different.
Yes.
I'm going to leave it at that. That's all I'm saying.
She's got the Mar-a-Lago look.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the best way you can kind of call it.
It's, yeah.
I think it is incredibly important, for the party and our great country of Canada to have the voices of diversity. It is incredibly important to have someone who has actually run a business that has started from the grassroots and from the ground up, to where it is today. And it is important to have someone who's going to stand up and fight for Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's clearly not the one where she said a couple of things that were
Questionable.
So yeah, yeah. If you just look up Ruby Dalla specifically, you'll see there's a thing of 3 photos of her.
And this is her Twitter ID photo.
Yes. So very almost Devil Wears Prada-ish in terms of the fashion sense and the image. Trying to tough career woman image.
I mean, I don't know
presented.
why she got the work done because honestly, look, this is her before the work. I think she's stunning.
Oh, she was always stunning.
Why did she get all that? Hey, look, you're free to do it. It's your body. Do whatever the hell you want to it. It's nobody's business but yours. I just don't understand why she did it because this is a beautiful woman. I guess she may have had a self-esteem issue or something. I don't know.
I don't. That's not for us to speculate anyway. But
No,
any
no,
objective,
and I'm
by
not.
any objective standard, if you're looking at any traditional objective beauty standard, except for like the one that says, if you're not white, you're not beautiful.
Right.
She checks them all off.
Like this
right?
is what she looks like now, right?
Yeah.
She obviously looked
Now,
different before.
No, I mean, there's certain years. I mean, there's 13 years since 13, 14 years since she's last been in MP. So who knows? But all I'm saying is that there's, as you know, there is a Mar-a-Lago look. She appears
There
to
is.
have adopted it, and there was no mention of her having any interest whatsoever in running in the race until about a couple of days before the deadline happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it.
It
Now
would
there was
seem that
another.
all the older pictures on her Instagram are gone. I can't seem to find anything from years ago. So I don't know. Whatever. Hey, look, you know what? Her mind, her body, her life. She can do whatever she wants with it. I don't. It's not something that registers in my mind. I don't know why you would do that. If I had the money, I would fix my teeth. That's it. That's it. I wish I had hair. I know I could pay money to do that. I'm not going to. I just want better teeth, and that that's part and parcel of overall health, right?
Right.
But
Indeed.
that's me. That's me. Everybody's different. Everybody has the right to do whatever they want with their body, and I'm not questioning that. I don't know why she did that. Is all I'm saying.
Then there was another candidate who had his name going around, who apparently was a pro-life candidate coming in. I do not see that person's name in the list of the people that have sent their nomination packages. So maybe that person decided not to enter the race after all. So those are the 7 that we have that have submitted their candidacy. Doesn't mean that they will be candidates. Like I said, the party does have to approve them. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if the party approves the candidacies of both Dalla and Chandra. Unfortunately, we have an entire climate of foreign interference that involves the government of India, allegedly. So, therefore, unfortunately, sadly, and perhaps quite unfairly, any candidates that enter a leadership race that have any types of ties whatsoever to India, a lot of people in the country are going to start wondering. Now, you shouldn't wonder just because someone is from India. But maybe if they've had one-on-one private meetings with the Prime Minister Modi that were not for any stated business or professional political reason on behalf of the nation of Canada, you might want to ask 1 or 2 questions.
Well, yeah,
You might.
I would think.
Not out of suspicion, but out of trust but verify. You have to apply the due diligence. So it would, considering that we are talking about foreign interference and there's a report that's going to be dropped down on the 28th, it would be nice if the party had some ways to ensure that those 2 candidacies in particular are for the best interests of Canada first.
Well, she has a unique page, a web page I just clicked on. I'm going to show it and share it with you. And I have a problem with the name of the page and the title. And what you understand why I have a problem with the title. Ruby Dalla for PM. And the web page is rubyforpm.ca.
Yes.
We do not run for prime minister in this country. It is not a position you can run for. You have to become a party leader, and your party has to be elected in a majority. Well, majority, a number of seats to form parliament, to form government. And the leader can then assume the position of prime minister. They could defer to the deputy leader if they wish. But you do not run for prime minister. So she's coming right out of the gate with Pierre Poilievre's bullshit. Poilievre for PM. You do not run for PM. It's not a position you can run for in this country. And I need people to understand that.
Great. Now, where Jaime Batiste is concerned, he held a news conference on Thursday where he announced he submitted his papers to be the first Indigenous person ever to run for the Prime Minister of Canada. Quote, "I believe we have unfinished business for shared dreams in our country," he said, while encouraging young Indigenous people to register to vote in the Liberal race. And here it says here, Dalla, a former Liberal MP who won 3 back-to-back elections in Brampton, Ontario, announced Thursday on X that she would be running for the leadership. Dalla told CBC News Network's Power and Politics that she decided to join over frustrations with the way the party has gone under Trudeau. This might be here. "I think I share the anger and the frustration of thousands of Liberals across the country because the Liberal Party of today is no longer the Liberal Party as we knew it," she told host David Cochrane. Dalla lost her seat in 2011 and has worked in the private sector ever since. She pitched herself as the candidate who has the most distance from Trudeau. Quote, "I'm the only one that has not been affiliated with the current administration. I'm a fresh face and I have fresh ideas and a new vision," she said. People can register with the party to vote in the leadership race up until Monday. Parker Lund, a spokesperson for the Liberal Party, says the party will approve candidates within 10 days. Elections Canada will also need to approve them, he said, which could take several days. Lund said the party will only confirm official candidates once they have been approved. So there you go. that's the state of the race. I did not have a chance to see Jaime Batiste's pressed thing, so I will definitely look for that and be able to bring it to you. Now, the other thing that's happening on the other side of the ledger is that it seems that Ontario Premier Doug Ford is set to announce, maybe as soon as next Wednesday, that there will indeed, in fact, be a provincial election in Ontario, and that he needs to go now. He claiming that he needs some type of mandate.
Yeah.
He does not need a mandate. If you watched, if you've been watching the show, and if you saw me on the O Show yesterday with Laura Babcock, we discussed this. He does not need a mandate. Defending the province against external threats is literally the job.
It's his job. And
of any leader.
That's correct. Any
elected leader to defend whatever jurisdiction
you don't need a separate mandate
you
for
represent.
your job.
That's the job, like this.
Yeah.
And especially when you already have an overwhelming, crushing majority, and you're already leading in the polls, and your legitimacy is not threatened. You don't need a mandate. This is a lie. We got David Moskrop here explaining his version on this. By early February, Ontario could be plunged into a winter election nobody wants. Nobody, that is, except Premier Doug Ford and his party, who see an opportunity to use the election of Donald Trump in the U.S. to wrong-foot the opposition and lock in another majority government. It's crass, cynical stuff, an election call as craven as it is unnecessary. Ford claims he needs a, quote, strong mandate from voters to manage Trump and his tariff threat against Canada. That's bogus. He's been telegraphing an early election for months, long before Trump won and the tariff threat became a clear and present danger. While Ford most definitely needs a plan to deal with Trump, encompassing both a retaliatory response and support measures for Ontarians who will suffer from a trade war, he doesn't need an election or mandate to enact either. In a parliamentary democracy, the government governs as long as it has the confidence of the legislature, a majority of which is already made up of his own party. As long as members of the provincial parliament support the government's spending program and other critical legislation, the premier has all the support he needs. If the people don't like it, they'll have a chance to vote their displeasure during the next election, which by law must be held by June 2026 or sooner. As an early election in Ontario would be about one thing and one thing only: securing power for Ford's progressive conservatives. As things stand, Ford's party enjoys about a 40% support in the polls, well ahead of the second-place Liberals at 28%, and plenty enough to lock in another majority government. But the Liberals are slowly getting their organizational act together, which must make Ford nervous. All the better for him to force voters to polling places in March. Of late, Ford has been playing Captain Canada, speaking for the Federation against Trump, and Contra holdout Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who has been bowing to the 47th president. Ford has counseled a tough response to Trump and threatened to cut off electricity exports to Michigan, New York, and Wisconsin. He supported the federal government in keeping all options on the table and staying mum about the details of their bargaining plans. That's the stick. He's also been dangling the carrot of Fortress AmCan, a comprehensive plan for cooperating with the U.S. on border security, trade, and energy security. And though that may appeal to many of the 36 states who rank Canada first among their export markets, as well as others who rely on cross-border trade and a shared security apparatus, there's no guarantee it'll catch the ear of Trump, whose worldview is zero-sum, us versus them, and we're the them. As them, here, Canada needs a clear, predictable plan for the months ahead. One reason to forego an Ontario election is stability. Ford ought to make use of the majority he has and deal with the Trump threat without introducing unnecessary uncertainty, especially as things stand federally. And that's a point here that's really important to make, because the entire conservative movement that has wanted Justin Trudeau out then immediately flipped to, oh my God, I can't believe he's leaving us in this situation of uncertainty and weak leadership and being rudderless at this important time when those tariffs could come at any moment. And here is Doug Ford, the conservative, about to go into an election so that we have a caretaker government in Ontario around the time of February 1st when the tariffs are supposed to land.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have here is we have a situation where a guy that was pretty much despised personally,
Yes.
the lowest public approval ratings for him personally. So like Pierre, a drag on his party, right? Ontarians are just looking for an option that's better and more competent because he's a drag on the party too. This has 2.5 good weeks taking on Trump, not Trudeau. comes to a meeting one day wearing a folksy hat.
Yeah.
Literally, that's all he's done. Is jawed in front of a mic and wear a folksy hat. And he's going to spin that into another majority. Let me remind you that Doug Ford is still arguably the most corrupt premier
In
Canadian history. The fact that he wore a cute hat one day does not change that.
No. And it will fool some people. The funny thing is, though, nobody seems to be taking the possibility that Mike Schreiner or Greiner? I always mix it up. Schreiner, thank you. From the Green Party, or Merritt Stiles from the NDP have a possibility of forming government. They just see it between the Liberals and the Conservatives. And the Liberal Party really is rudderless, and Bonnie Crombie is just a Conservative with a new name. She's like Dalton McGuinty. He was never a Liberal. Never. I think, look, Merritt Stiles, I know a lot of people really like her. Some people are nervous about the NDP moniker. Mike Schreiner, I think he's the right guy. I really do. And I'm like, you know what? Let's give the Green Party a shot, man. Like, he says and does all the right things. So why not? Like, why not?
I've always been that way too, federally or provincially.
Yes, why not? He's saying and doing all the right things. Let's give
it has been for a long time.
He has.
It has been for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's not an act.
No, and I see it literally in my mind. I see, if we take the focus off of Ford and Crombie, we really should put the focus on Stiles and Schreiner, because I think those are the only two that actually have leadership qualities and potential. And the more I talk to people, the more I hear the same sort of thing. They're like, yeah, Ford's got to go, and we don't like Crombie at all. And these are Conservatives who don't like Crombie. So some of these guys who, like I said, they won't vote federally Conservative because they're not progressive Conservative. The current crop, as we've well stated 1,000 times on this show. But they're considering voting Green. So I'm like, guys, give it a shot.
Do it.
And they like what Schreiner has to say. So why not?
Why not?
Like, why not?
Why not? So we could
do much worse.
Oh yes, we very worse. We already are. The other thing that you have to understand here about what's going on is that the guy that just elevated his public profile by being Coach Canada or Captain Canada, the second he goes into an election, is basically telling all of Canada, hi, I've been your coach. I've done the rah-rah thing. But now when you need me most, I'm quitting the job.
Indeed.
Doug Ford's position at that premier's meeting was that all premiers should put all other considerations secondary in order to be there for Team Canada. And here's Doug Ford announcing that he is leaving Team Canada in order to put his own personal considerations first.
Hypocrisy. That name is Doug Ford.
How much do you want to bet that narrative is not going to be there?
Oh, of course not.
How much when he declares the election day, when he says, hey, we're going, like this, that there's got to be no article that says Coach Canada or Captain Canada quits.
There will be from us.
Justin Trudeau quit and left us rudderless. Even though he said, I'm eventually going to quit and I'm going to stay on after so I will be here whenever whatever tariffs get imposed, unless he does do it after March something. But I'm going to be here for that interim period. And when we don't, then it's going to be the leader that's going to lead the party. So there's going to be the stability. Doug Ford is saying, we need stability. Nobody should be doing anything. Everybody should be all hands on deck for Team Canada. Oh, by the way, let me just fit in this little election for myself.
By the way.
And on top of that, not only is he going to do the wrong thing here, he's going to do the wrong thing in the wrong way. Because Justin Trudeau, a couple of years ago, went early for an election and he got punished for it. Opportunism, trying to take advantage of the COVID thing. Why not? Doug Ford's doing the exact same damn thing. Who's going to nail him to a cross?
Nobody.
For being a smug political opportunist.
Well, they'll say and let him do whatever he wants, because you got to remember that Post Media, which 66% is owned by Chatham Assets Management, And I think only like 3% of it is owned by Canadian companies. There's another American individual, billionaire businessman, who owns like 15%. And there's some. I was looking into it yesterday. Something like 97 or 95% of Post Media is owned by U.S. interests. So remember that most of the newspapers in this country owned by right-wing, evangelical influenced, GOP tied to American interests. So they will shit all over the liberal prime minister and support every conservative across the country. They are the ones who helped get him elected last time by saying, what's going to win? It's a landslide victory. And a lot of people just said, well, if he's going to win, why do I even show up to vote? And we had the lowest turnout in the provincial history, 43%.
Yep. Exactly.
So we got to institute new rules when it comes to elections in this country. No polls after the writ has dropped. I don't think that, and look, I've long been a supporter of no newspaper or media company should ever endorse anybody for political leader, because you throw your objectivity out the window. That's my personal opinion. Other people may see it differently, but I think if you endorse a political candidate as an influence peddler, which is what a newspaper is, or a news organization, you are peddling your influence.
Mm-hmm. Now,
And
let's remind ourselves that back in the day when newspapers started, all newspapers were partisan.
Correct.
So, it is journalism tradition. It's like if you were liberal, you read this paper. If you were conservative, you read this paper.
But objectivity is non-existent in Post Media, because all they want is to elect right-wing conservatives, progressive conservatives, UCP.
And if we're going back to that era, let's go back to that era. But let's stop pretending that we're presenting objective news for everyone.
Correct.
Just call yourself the liberal paper of record, the conservative paper of record, and let's all be clear. Just like if you're listening to our show, you know that we are nonpartisan, but you know that on the political spectrum, we're anywhere from progressive conservative all the way to green. If you're in that area, there's something that you're going to like. If you're to the left of that, or if you're to the right of that, you're probably not going to like us. We're very clear about where we stand.
Yes.
So when you watch our show, you know what lens to interpret things from, and you can take the best, and leave the rest. There's no reason that newspapers and media outlets could not just do the same thing as a standard.
The funny thing is, though, the amount of people who will tune in for 5 minutes and go, "Oh, a couple of liberal cucks. This is a children's show," and I just laugh and go, "Yeah, thanks for the engagement. Appreciate it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe." You know nothing about us in 5 minutes of watching our program.
Or people that see you in this, pronouns. Well, that's all I need to know. Well, that's all that need. If that's all you need to know, that explains why your mind is limited now, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other one too. Oh, pronoun boy. Did the pronoun hurt you? Point to me on the doll where the pronoun hurt you.
But it's
I say that to people all the time.
I know. But if pronouns are all somebody needs to see to say, well, that's all I need to know about that person, that I can discount their entire existence and everything that's in their mind and their total life experience, then I understand why your mind is limited and you can't think about different things.
Exactly.
You're limited. You're limited.
Critical thinking is beyond you.
I'm just sorry.
What was the thing I saw yesterday? I don't think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. As somebody said a while back, there are no pronouns in the Bible. Okay, you've obviously never read the Bible or know what a pronoun is.
Thou.
And there was thou, yeah.
The 10 Commandments are full of them. They all start with one. They all start with the same one. Thou.
That's a pronoun. Another one that said, we're putting an end to pronouns in American English. I'm like, well, how are you going to be able to communicate with people? Like, really? How will you communicate with another human being if you strike pronouns from the English language? You can't do it.
Go store? Now, I don't know. You don't know if I'm asking you to go to the store for me, or if you want to go to the store with me, or I'm going to the store while I'm leaving you behind. But go store.
Yeah. So
I could also be just going go store.
Here's a list. You, he, she, it, we, they, me, her, our, their, that, who. There's just a few of them. There's 111 pronouns in English grammar. 111. and I'll put it, I'll put a link to it right here so that everybody can see it for themselves. So if you want to eliminate pronouns, tell me how you're going to be able to communicate with humanity, because if you click on that link that I just put in the chat, like I said, there's 111 of them.
Jeez.
You
People-
can't
that-
communicate without them.
well, not only that, but that's a lot of stuff to be mad about. It's like, when are you going to have time? If there's 111 pronouns and people talk a lot,
Well,
you
this
have
is-
nothing else. You have nothing else to do with your day every day for the rest of your life than be mad about pronouns.
Yeah, personal pronouns.
That's your life.
Yeah.
That's your life.
I like to watch TV, but he does not. You cannot judge a tree by its bark. She struck him on the nose. He studies hard to pass the exam. Those are all pronouns. Me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them.
Yep. So
Yeah.
back to Ford
Yes.
Etzel.
Let me get a Frank. Sorry, I just saw something. Let me get a
Oh.
coffee. See, the dyslexia, the way the brain works, I saw a word and inserted it into what I was trying to say. It says, "Why, Frankie?" When I wanted to say, "Let me get a coffee," I saw the word Frankie and spit it out loud. This was dyslexia and ADHD. It's there's not a medication that can fix it all.
If you're going to get yourself a Frank, I'm going to get myself a bun. So, Franks and Buns, the new morning show.
Franks and beans?
No, Franks and Buns.
No.
I know Franks and Beans, though.
I'll be
They
right
got
back.
canceled. The Beans had stinky opinions. All right. Yes, back to what David was saying about Doug Ford here. Justin Trudeau will be out by mid-March after the Liberals choose a new leader, and the country is expecting a federal election to follow soon after, though it's not guaranteed. In short, there's little predictability in leadership and direction federally, so it would be nice to at least know what the plan is for the country's most populous province and biggest economy, steady hand on the tiller and all that. But Ontario had an election in the summer of 2022, and Ford won a bigger majority than he had previously. That gives Ford and Ontario plenty of time to think through Trump and plenty of continuity. It also gives them time to work with whoever is leading the federal government as they craft their response to Trump. With the majority, Ford isn't going anywhere and doesn't lack control of the legislative agenda. He can do more or less whatever he pleases in the next 16 months without needing to rush things, as evidenced by the fact that he took 19 weeks off, came in for about 5 or 6 weeks, and then took another 11. Perhaps. Right? If anything, an early election invites more chaos than we need. That is true. The simplest explanation for Ford's early election gambit is likely the most accurate. He's up in the polls now, but wary of the opposition and the ravages of time. Voters get tired of you eventually. Just ask Justin Trudeau. And he wants to lock in another majority today that would likely guarantee him the power until 2029. It's basically what Stephen Harper did before the economic crash in 2008, all over again. And perhaps set his party up for a transfer of power to a new premier as Ford ministry approaches its 10th anniversary in 2028. Ford's plan could be good political strategy, but it has nothing to do with securing a mandate or doing what's best for anyone or anything except Doug Ford and his party. And it does carry some risk. Historically, in 1990, Ontario Liberal Premier David Peterson was way up in the polls. He called an early election to capitalize on his party's popularity and the opposition's lack of preparedness, and was sent packing by an electorate that resented being sent to the polls early. He lost his own seat, and Ontarians gave NDP leader Bob Rae a majority government and what Ford would call, I guess, a strong mandate. So here's the thing, Doug Ford. If you are going to go, if you are going to do the wrong thing the wrong way at the wrong time, could you at least be minimally helpful to the rest of Canada? And not have your election in early March, then which allows the federal parliament to open up again on the 24th and to be plunged immediately into could you at least hold your election in April or May? So that we have time to see this Trump thing play out and see who's the best possible candidate? Could you at least, or are you just going to throw the entire country under the bus and not just Ontario?
Well,
for you to get an extra mandate that you don't need.
Doug's going to Doug, right?
Yep. So, hopefully, Ontarians will be pissed off enough if he does that to make him pay. But so far, it doesn't look like that because, hey, if after all the people that have died under his watch,
No kidding.
none of that provoked anybody. It didn't provoke more than 41 or 43% of the population to turn out to vote last time around. I don't know, man. I don't know what this guy's got to do. But now, again, this is a big risk for him because Trump is Trump, right? Anywhere during that election campaign, Trump could throw Doug a huge curveball that makes it such that, and we know that Ford likes to interfere in Trump likes to interfere in elections, and Ford has been playing tough guy, and Trump doesn't like that. So, and the Fords are on the Trump's radar, mostly because of his brother, but they are on the Trump's radar. The Fords were known in the United States prior to all of this. So, yeah, if Donald Trump wanted to throw in a curveball with regard to tariffs, oh, you know what? Yeah, I think I'll just go now, or something, or make him attack Ontario particularly, or the auto sector particularly, when he announces them, if he announces them sometime in February during the mid-election campaign. That won't help Doug. So I think Doug thinks he has it a little too easy right now.
I think so.
And that nobody could throw him a curveball. But if you're saying that you need a mandate to handle this guy, and while you're in election, this guy notices you're in election, decides to throw you like 5 or 6, 7 curveballs during the campaign, and you can't handle them, there goes your campaign. So if I was on Team Doug Ford, if there's anybody who hate watches us from Team Doug Ford, because you might want to run the scenario by him of a president-elect that keeps on lobbing grenades throughout his entire campaign to make him trip up. Because that could be a thing. All right. So for those two big subjects, that's pretty much all I have for you, kits and cubs. And I'm going to have to bow out soon, so I will let Mr. Grizzly close the show. But there's one tiny little thing that I wanted to mention because the Oscar nominations came out yesterday.
Oh,
Unfortunately, no nomination for Pamela Anderson in the Best Actress category this year, unfortunately.
kind of surprised. I thought she would have, she kind of earned it, but who knows?
I really, really, really thought it was coming.
If it was going to be any day, it was going to be for, it was going to be for this.
Right. But there were a few Canadians. I don't know if that's the entirety of them that did get a nomination. But there's a film on the legacy of residential schools in Canada that was nominated for the Best Documentary Feature Oscar. It's called Sugarcane, and it's about the Williams Lake First Nation.
Mm.
And what everything that happened over there. So the film has been widely praised by audiences. I think it won the prize at Sundance earlier this year. Nominated. It's a documentary from Julian Brave Noisecat, a member of the Kenim Lake Band. And I cannot pronounce this word. Sorry, I do not know what the pronunciations are. But TSQ with some type of accentation, E with the accent that you would see in French, SCN, another with some accentation. And I'm sorry, I wish I could pronounce it, but I don't. I don't even know. So I can't make an attempt. And follows him and his father as they learn about the history of the institution. Operated by the Missionary Oblates of Mary Immaculate from 1886 to 1981, St. Joseph's Mission was just outside the Williams Lake First Nation community core of, I'm going to guess that's Texelk, also known as Sugarcane. The movie explores Williams Lake's First Nations' ongoing investigation into St. Joseph's, which has heard accounts of disappearances, murders, systematic torture, rape, and starvation of children and newborn babies fathered by priests, tossed into the...
Yeah, I know. Don't maybe not say the rest of that sentence. That's going to be too much for people to handle. Just
bodies who were cremated.
Yeah.
The history and legacy of it. Oh my God. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So that's why it hit me. I'm sorry, kids.
Trigger warnings here, folks. Trigger warnings. There's some,
I did not expect that. Sorry. The history and legacy of residential schools in this country have had a significant impact on all of our communities through the direct trauma, through the intergenerational trauma, Sellers said. But the most disturbing thing about that conversation is most Canadians and most people in the world don't know that story. People are going to be talking about it now. Hopefully, it will empower the survivors to tell their story. So yes, at Sundance, it won a directing award, and it was also screened at the White House in December,
Oh, okay.
by the way. Um, in a statement from Noisecat and co-director Emily Cassie, the filmmakers thanked all involved in the project for their support, in particular the survivors and their families who shared their stories for the film. Quote, "We are overjoyed and filled with gratitude for this acknowledgement from the Academy." The statement reads, "In a moment where justice seems out of reach, we are grateful that sugarcane has helped illuminate the truth, bring about healing, and called institutions of power to account." So those people are nominated, and hopefully they will win. Denis Villeneuve didn't get a directing nomination, but Dune 2 did get a nomination as one of the best pictures of the year. So those are the two with Canadian involvement so far that I see that have received any nominations, but I'll keep an eye out. Normally there's much more Canadian content, so maybe there's some NFB stuff and some animation that just hasn't been brought to our attention
Shorts
yet.
and
Short
documentaries and
stuff, but so far that's it. But still, best documentary feature is actually one of the major categories
yes, it is.
in this case. So this is a big nomination because it has happened that we've had some documentaries nominated in the past, but again, usually more shorts. Short films and short length documentaries, but this is a full length. So yeah, way to go Canada, and go Indigenous. We like that. All right. Hey, because it's a tough subject, Liz, and we're talking about tough subject with trigger words, but we're talking about it this time in the context of Indigenous achievement that
Well,
is being celebrated.
there's feature length documentary, and then there's short documentary short film. And the one that really struck me in 1982 was a Canadian film titled "If You Love This Planet."
Right.
It's you can watch it on the National Film Board webpage. It's a recording of a lecture given to SUNY Plattsburgh students by Australian physician and anti-nuclear activist Dr. Helen Caldecott about the dangers posed by nuclear weapons. I remember that film well, and it still sits with me today. It's 43 years later, still sits with me. It was an Oscar-winning documentary, a short film, 26 minutes. So there's feature-length documentary, there's short documentary, there's short films, there's animated shorts. There's other categories, of course, and then there's even if there's stuff from Quebec that gets nominated for foreign language films.
Yep, often. And even Northern Canada. No,
Yes,
it
right.
wasn't nominated at the Oscars, but it was Canada's submission
Right.
at Anarjuat, that movie, The Fast Runner, that year.
That was a great movie, actually.
Yeah. And I think we've even had some in languages that weren't French or Indigenous that were nominated as well, because we have a Deepa Mehta, who's a very well-known director who often does things in Hindu, and sometimes gets nominations as well.
Hindi, not Hindu. Hindi.
Yeah, Hindi.
Hindu's the religion. Hindi's the
the language.
Hindu's the religious belief. Hindi is the language.
Yes,
I get it mixed up.
And that short documentary, If You Love This Planet, also won a special prize by the World Peace Council at the Leipziger Documentary and Short Film Festival, and a Certificate of Merit at the Yorkton Short Film Festival. So, as well as the 1983 Oscar for short documentary. All right, kits and cubs, this is where I have to bow out, unfortunately. So I'm going to hand over the reins to you, Mr. Grizzly, to close off the show. Cross your fingers and wish me luck that I'm able to get through the material. I saw the suggestion from Kid Gem also to maybe try a slip-on slider. I will look in my materials here to see if I have one somewhere, because I used to have one, but I haven't played with one in about 10 years. But hopefully at the club, maybe they will have one. So I will get off his call, the curling club at which I'm supposed to curl, which is not my regular one, ask if they have some slip-on sliders. And if they do, then just go directly there. All right. So I'm off. Have a perfect day, everyone. Send me good vibes for a win today, because If we win, we play again tonight at 9 p.m. If we lose, we have to stick around and play till 1. And there goes my entire day. So I'd rather come home and then go back.
All right. Have fun.
Bye, everyone.
See you later. So I noticed a question in here from PNC Bio about State University of New York, SUNY Plattsburgh, State University of New York at Plattsburgh. That's what that stands for. That was where the talk was given in regards to nuclear issues at the time. So a few things I want to address here this morning when it comes to Donald Trump. And oh boy. So where do I begin? My goodness. So Trump wants to end birthright citizenship, which means that if you are on an H-1B visa, if you're on a work visa, if you are visiting on a visitor's visa in the United States of America, and you're a couple or you're a single, whatever the case may be, and you have a child while working and living in the United States of America, Trump wants to make it so that, they're not an American-born citizen. I'm like, but they were born in America, so you're going to just take that away from them? And he wants to do that. So to counter that, what is taking place is, and I have an article here from salon.com. And bear with me when I read the quote. It says, I'm going to bring it over here so it's easier for me to read. It says, one second here. It says, excluding Indians, in quote, Trump administration questions Native Americans' birthright citizenship in court. In the Trump administration's arguments defending his order to suspend birthright citizenship, the Justice Department called into question the citizenship of Native Americans born in the United States, citing a 19th century law that excluded Native Americans from birthright citizenship. In a case on Trump's birthright citizenship executive order coming out of Washington, Justice Department attorneys quote the 14th Amendment, which reads that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside, and hang one of their arguments on the phrase, subject to jurisdiction thereof. Under the plain terms of the clause, birth in the United States does not by itself entitle a person to citizenship. The person must also be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, the filing reads. The Justice Department then goes on to cite the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which predates the 14th Amendment by 2 years. The Justice Department attorney specifically cite a section of the act that notes that all persons born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power, excluding Indians not taxed, are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States. The Trump administration then goes on to argue that the 14th Amendment's language, the phrase subject to jurisdiction thereof, is best understood to exclude the same individuals who are excluded by the act, i.e., those who are subject to any foreign power and Indians not taxed. The Justice Department attorneys returned to the topic of whether or not Native Americans should be entitled to birthright citizenship later in their arguments, citing a Supreme Court case, Elk v. Wilkins, in which the court decided that because members of Indian tribes owe immediate allegiance to their tribes, they are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are not constitutionally entitled to citizenship. The United States' connection with the children of illegal aliens and temporary visitors is weaker than its connection with members of Indian tribes. If the latter link is insufficient for birthright citizenship, the former certainly is, the Trump administration argued. The argument makes a sharp departure from the government's opinion, which has held that Native Americans who are citizens of their respective tribes are also citizens of the United States. So let me get this straight. If I understand that, so indigenous people who have occupied these lands for thousands of years, in Trump's warped mind, are not citizens on a land which they've born and raised and lived on for millennia. Okay. So in that case, do we give the land back? I mean, I just, some days I just can't with this guy. I just can't some days because it makes no bloody sense half the time what this idiot spews out of his face hole. I mean, How can anybody take anything this man says seriously? Oh, and by the way, remember when he said, elect me this time and you'll never have to worry about it again? And he meant it? Well, Republican Representative Andy Ogles has drafted a constitutional amendment aimed at allowing Donald Trump to be president for a third term. Proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to provide that no person shall be elected to the office of president more than 3 times. January 13th, 2025. So they want to change it up so Trump can be president again. Which, again, remember he said, you elect me and you'll never have to worry about it again. They'll give him a third term and then they'll just say, no, I just decide I'm going to stay for life. Because he'll make an executive order to create something thereof. You know damn well he will. We know what we're dealing with here. This is not a normal human being. Just and then in other news, which is in the title of the show, or the description of the show, Mississippi politician files Contraception Begins at Erection Act. And this one I think is just beautiful because it's a slap in the face to all the Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate incel supporters who think your body, my choice when it comes to women. State senator in Mississippi has filed a bill entitled Contraception Begins at Erection Act, as written by Senator Bradford Blackmon. Okay, terribly sorry about that. We had a brownout here, and I don't know where the show ended, but we had a brownout, and as a result, everything went kind of haywire. So I apologize. We got cut off there for a couple of minutes. It was kind of strange on my end, and things have not fully picked themselves up just yet, but back online, here I am. Terribly sorry. Something happened there. I don't know where I got cut off. We had literally everything just went, which eliminated my connection to the internet because my modem went offline. I'm going to have to get maybe a backup power supply for that. I'll go back to where I'll start from the beginning on the last thing I was talking to you about. The Mississippi politician files for Contraception Begins at Erection Act. It says here, as written by Senator Bradford Blackmon, the bill would make it unlawful for a person to discharge genetic material without the intent to fertilize an embryo. There are also fines involved, the third strike resulting in a loss of $10,000 from the perpetrator. In a statement to WLBT News, Blackmon wrote, all across the country, especially here in Mississippi, the vast majority of bills relating to contraception and/or abortion focus on the woman's role, where men are 50% of the equation. This bill highlights the fact and bring the man's role into the conversation. People can get up in arms and call it absurd, but I can't say that bothers me. And here's the thing. I agree with him, and I love it. I love it because like I said a moment ago, every Andrew Tate, what's going on here? I don't know what's going on. Every Andrew Tate loving, Jordan Peterson supporting incel now have to shut their pie holes. All those idiots who said to women, your body, my choice. Well, now you're getting the ruling from the government that, that means no porn, no masturbation, no ejaculation. Would wet dreams count for teenage boys? I'm just curious. How would that law work, and how do you police it? I get that the point of the law is to show how ridiculous policing women's bodies and abortion is, or a woman's right to make a choice whether she wants to have an abortion or not. When you start to police women's bodies by saying you can't do this, what is next? No tattoos, no piercing, you have to wear your hair this way. And the next thing you know, we're in the Handmaid's Tale, because they are on the fast track to Gilead. America is on the fast track to Gilead. Project 2025 that Trump said, I don't know anything about it. I don't know. Liar. Half the people working on it were in your former administration. So when it comes right down to it, Donald Trump is a raging psychopath, in my opinion. The man just said he wants $1 trillion from Saudi Arabia. He told the World Economic Forum that he doesn't, that he wants Canada to be a 51st state, but if we're a sovereign nation, they don't need our lumber, our automobiles, our oil, our minerals, our materials, our water, so should we just bring our water bombers back from California then? And we're going to cut off all lumber supplies? You want maple syrup? You want... The man is out of his mind. He's not a serious person, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. He is a complete narcissist that is going to destroy a once great democracy, but it no longer is. I'm sorry, America, but you're done. You're finished. And here's the thing. Without getting into the conspiracy theories of Elon Musk fixing elections across the country with computer voting systems, you did it to yourselves. You did it to yourselves. And the boycott in Canada has already begun on U.S. goods. People are already saying, we're not buying them. Doug Ford has said, pull all American products off LCBO shelves. Well, there's difficulties in that because they've already paid for them. Just say, don't buy any more. But you have to understand that major Canadian breweries are mixed up with and tied to American breweries. Labatt, Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, which is Budweiser, InBev, it's part of a big conglomerate. Molson Coors, another big conglomerate. So do we have to boycott those products, Molson and Labatt? I mean, I don't use them myself. I'm more of a local craft beer drinker because drink local, think global. I don't know. But when it all comes down to it, it's just, if we stop buying American products like we did a few years ago when it came to Heinz ketchup, and I switched to French, and I've never looked back, and I like French's ketchup a lot. I know some people don't, but I do like French's ketchup, and I continue to use the product, and I will continue to use the product because it's made in Ontario by Ontario workers with Ontario tomatoes. Tomatoes. Say it the way you like. If you want to boycott, feel free. Go ahead. I will not pass judgment on you. Matter of fact, I might kind of give you the old pat on the back. But it does call into question if we're going to ban all alcoholic products or alcohol-based products that are tied to U.S. companies, will be harming Canadians in the process too. So how does that work? You know that Rolling Rock, which is the glass tanks of the old Latrobe in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Rolling Rock was purchased by Labatt about 30 years ago. before Labatt merged with Anheuser-Busch and became part of InBev. So an American company owned by a Canadian company. Didn't know that, did you? Yeah, they owned it and didn't really change anything and didn't take it to Canada for a long time. It's only been here for about 20 years. So you got to wonder who do we harm by this boycott? I like Mr. Jim's idea. Heinz did return to Canada? Okay, I didn't know that. I've stopped buying them. So after what they did, I'm like, nope, you're dead to me. Export tariff, a tariff of 200% on electricity and laugh all the way to the bank. Well, couldn't hurt. Loblaws and Walmart Canada will be up in arms over this. They import a lot of things. The old Fruit Loops are the Great Value brand, just in case people want the old blue dye. So I don't know. If you want to boycott, feel free. Make an informed decision. I will give you some links that I have saved. Just give me a second while I find them here. There is. Okay, I've got some links here that I saved just yesterday on Made in Canada. And I will copy them and put them in the chat. There are two different web pages that will give you access. One's called madeincanada.ca, and the other one is Canadian Made, I think it's called. Oh, Made in Canada Directory. Correct. There we go. Let me just copy that, and I'm going to put this in the chat as well, and you can check out those two things. Buy local. It's never a bad choice. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Mr. Jim. I buy local when I can. I can't do it all the time because local products are sometimes out of my budgetary restrictions. So I do have to buy a mass manufactured no-name product. I don't like it, but one has to survive. I don't like shopping at the Big W, but their prices are cheaper than Loblaws, and Loblaws being a Canadian greedy bastard company. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry, I was thinking out loud there. That happens sometimes. I pontificate in my head and the words come out of my mouth when I don't mean to. But yeah, the greedy bastard company that is Loblaws brand companies who've been gouging us for years by, let's see, the bread price fixing thing. And now they're selling meat inflated. And what they're doing is they're saying they're selling you 200 grams of meat, for example, for, I'll say, I don't know, $2 a gram, $2 for 100 grams, when they're actually saying, here's 200 grams of meat, whatever it be, when it's actually 140 grams. So they're charging you 200 and giving you 140. This has been going on for a while. There was an article about it a couple of weeks ago. So choose to shop where you shop. Make your decisions based on where your heart and your money lie. We can't all do the things we want to do every day because, let's face it, most of us aren't rich. Where do we go from here? I honestly don't know. Each day Trump comes up with something new, and each day I sit there and scratch my head and go, how on earth did the American people do this to themselves? And again, you can go with the possibility that it was a conspiracy theory and that Elon Musk fixed voting machines in the state of Pennsylvania because Trump basically said that the other day. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it happened, and I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to run down that conspiracy theory rabbit hole, and I'm in no place to investigate it. I'll let others do that, and if the story comes out, we will discuss it here. The one last thing I want to talk about before we go for today, though, is Trump has deployed active military to help round up migrants and put them into detention camps. This coming from George Takei. The military forced us out of our homes at gunpoint in 1942 because we were considered possibly disloyal Americans. They sent us to internment camps for 4 years. History is repeating itself. Pay attention. It is. It is. It's happening all over again. We defeated fascism and Nazism once before, and we'll do it again. I hate the fact that we have to do it again. What part of never again did you forget about? All right. I think I'll wrap that today. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Really do love and appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for your commentary. Thanks for your ongoing support through coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, and our pod page, where when I get caught up, and I hope to get caught up by this weekend, we will have more Audible product for you there in the very near future. But if you scan the QR code in the bottom what is that? Right? Bottom left corner of the screen. You can scan that QR code and that'll take you to our pod page where all of our videos are also available. There's a video link on the pod page. So if you missed anything on YouTube, although we do encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel because that helps grow the channel, and growth is what, enables us to keep going. And we make no secret of the fact that we have been trying to generate revenue from this since day one, which is why we have sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, CanadianTarot.com, and the Peppermaster, who were kind enough to send me a jewel box of samples of all their pastes and potions and concoctions. And I've used almost every one of them, actually, in sauces and mixes. And I think I'm going to make a big chili this weekend. I'm thinking about a big pot of chili, and I'll throw a little bit of spice in there because I like it. I like it spicy. Sorry if you're Italian and that offended you. I don't mean to offend anybody, and sometimes the accents just pour out of me, especially if I got a point of Guinness in front of me. But this is a coffee because, it's 8:30 in the morning on a Friday, and I'm not imbibing in alcohol at this hour. Sorry. Some people can. If you choose to do that, that's fine. What you do with your body is your business, not mine, but I prefer a coffee in the morning. Thank you very much. Oh, and that's some goodness, Colombian goodness right there. So thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate you, each and every one of you. I ask you to please hit the subscribe button and like button if you haven't subscribed already to the YouTube channel. And if you haven't hit the like button, please do so on your way out. And if you could, and if you would be so kind as to share this channel with as many people as you know. Let them know, especially younger people, if you get them involved in politics, share this channel with them because we are here to inform. And I know a lot of people say, oh, you're just a bunch of liberal cock, left-leaning, pinko commie, blah, blah, blah. We're none of those things, but you can go ahead and believe what you want to believe. We are centrist. We are progressive. We believe in equality. We do believe in DEI because it makes a difference. And remember, representation does matter. Now, I get that I'm sort of the white man representation here, but I can't help how I was born. All right. Thanks for coming out, folks. You take care. I will be back in a minute with an Easter egg. All righty.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
I want to share something with you that I've had lined up for a while that I've been trying to find a way to bring it into the show, and we've not had the opportunity. And the shows normally run 2 hours plus lately. And today's show's considerably shorter because Mr. Beaver had to leave. So I thought, you know what? Here's the perfect time to show you this. I'm not going to make any commentary. I'm going to show you the video, and we can chat about it on the other side. So sit back, relax, and watch this.
Hi, I'm back. I missed all of you. I'm very excited to be here. A couple days ago, I posted on Blue Sky and I said that I felt like the Conservatives had a billionaire in their back pocket, and I was going to tell you who I think it is. And then Justin Trudeau was like, hey, I'm going to quit. And this is going to be the leading headline. But I've decided that while everybody's over there watching what the Liberals are doing, I'm going to tell you what I think the puppeteer who's controlling the Conservative Party is doing and who it is. Have you ever seen this logo before? This logo is going to be one of the most important conversations we ever have. Oz Ventures is a capital fund that has 3 locations: Canada, Israel, and the United States. It was launched in 2016, and even though it was launched in Canada, its entire goal was to invest in Israeli-based companies that were producing artificial technologies, advanced militarized technologies, cybersecurity, you name it. But I said I was going to tell you who I thought was in control of the Conservative Party of Canada and where their money was coming from. Why on earth would I be talking about a company that's based in Toronto but developing technology for the Israeli government to effectively eradicate Palestinians? How would those things be linked? Stephen Harper. It's Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper is a partner and president of this company. And this company that Stephen Harper is a partner in has invested at least $300 million, but estimates are that it's substantially higher because they have done one hell of a job to hide their money. And the things that they're investing in are literally how to eradicate other human beings using super sketchy AI and crazy face recognition software and the most wild dystopian militarized shit you've ever heard of. But it's not just Stephen Harper. There's a former MI5 director, a former CSIS director, a former CIA director, and the former director of the Israeli military occupation. But wait, there's more. More FBI, more IDF, more elite Israeli intelligence special forces, more Israeli police forces, more Israeli intelligence, and Israeli infrastructure. This company is also investing directly into the Israeli military. They're not just investing privately. They're also directly investing into what is supposed to be a public entity. One of the private companies that Oz has invested in is something called Coresight, and it's an AI technology that does face recognition, but it's so advanced and it's so good that it can even recognize people when their faces are covered. That is fucking terrifying. And Coresight has been using the invasion since October 2023 to test their face recognition software to make sure that it is as good as they think it is, even though they keep having to blow up like hospitals and schools and stuff because they think that there might be terrorists inside those buildings. I digress. Their plan is to basically test this technology to see if it works, and then Stephen Harper has been shopping it to other countries. I'm not fucking kidding. So Oz does seem to have a first and foremost priority to serve Israel, but then their secondary piece is to make these products commercially viable and to be sold to the commercial sector. So it seems like they're serving governments, but also plan to sell this back to private companies like a fucking movie theater who can recognize people's facial reactions. I don't know. Why do we need this technology? And the only thing that they invest in is security and intelligence technologies that could have a military or commercial application. It's their thing. It's literally their thing. Now, this next part is really just me hypothesizing based on the breadcrumbs that I was able to find. Stephen Harper, during his time as Prime Minister, loosened the regulations around banking compliance and reporting and made it easier for people to offshore money, specifically Canadians to offshore money. By deregulating a lot of these safety nets, he effectively made it so that he could hide money anywhere. After he left office, he started the IDU, which has effectively dismantled democracy on a global scale. Something that I've noticed with the IDU's practices is they go into places that are extremely resource rich but democracy poor and help far-right ideology to continue to take hold and either get elected or stay elected and stay in power in these places. I don't think he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart, and I would assume that he's making a shit ton of money doing that. But from a public declaration standpoint, it's estimated that his net worth is only $7 million. This is the guy who's the chairman of an international organization that's working with actual dictators. There's no way he's not making some crazy money off of that. In 2016, he also started Oz Venture Capital that successfully invested in all of these militarized applications and AI technology and face recognition and all of this crazy software that has huge financial value to it, and yet he still has this stagnant net worth. I don't buy it for a second. Pair that with the fact that he just got access to the AIMCO fund that has an estimated value of $160 billion. And we know that he misappropriated funds from the conservative fundraising account while he was overseeing that for 4 years. And I have a feeling that a whole bunch of this $160 billion is going to end up invested in Oz. It's going to end up perpetuating AI technologies that effectively eradicate humans that stand in opposition of far-right ideology. I completely understand that the important conversation of the day is the fact that Justin Trudeau has just stepped down, and I think that that's something that definitely needs to be talked about, but there's a lot of other voices who are covering that, so I'm going to continue to look over here and see what the puppet master is doing. Because since Stephen Harper left office in 2015, he's effectively launched an organization that's systematically destroying democracy on a global scale and aligning itself with totalitarian regimes that are exploiting people and literally murdering their own population to acquire more resources. He also launched an investment fund that has funneled so much fucking money into the Israeli Defense Fund and technologies that are eradicating a population, and that population is being used as R&D to figure out if this tech works and if they can sell it to other totalitarian regimes. This guy is doing some fucked up shit and nobody noticed because he's just like the fun ex-prime minister who's super zany and wears a blazer with jeans. What a guy. Hey friends, he enjoys making jazz music and has a cover band. Meanwhile, he's effectively launching technologies that are in fact terrifying. He is weaponizing AI in a way that makes dystopian movies look like they're a playbook. I really, truly, wholeheartedly believe that Stephen Harper is in control of the Conservative Party at a federal level. I also believe that he is pulling the strings at a provincial level in at least the province of Alberta. I believe that he has figured out how to acquire more money to funnel into technology development of weaponized technology that should make all of us quite fearful. And he has done it with next to nobody noticing. Oh, and his investment company helped to fund that super sketchy cell phone thing I talked about before, where your cell phone can be tracked, and people have literally been unalived because of that technology. So, yeah, happy Monday. Welcome to Nitty 2025. I'm going to diversify my platforms so you can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm going to put my Instagram in the place where all the clickies are, and I'm going to continue to make content. We've got some sponsors, all that kind of stuff, because low-key, I want to go off-grid.
Wow. I've been wanting to show you that for a while because it's inflammatory for sure, but also not a word of that was a lie. Not a single word of that was a lie. It's all true. All of it. She does her work, and I'm dying to try and get her on the show sometime. I'm trying to reach out to her via TikTok to see if she'd be willing to come on and talk with us. She's got her stuff together, and oh no, the thing here at PNC Bio, what she was talking about is the trackability. Sure, they're all trackable, but she's referring to what just took place in the Israelis did to was it Hezbollah or was it Hamas, who their pagers and cell phones blew up and killed a lot of people in the process. That's what she's talking about. So they track it and then boom, they blow them up. So yeah. Yeah, all of those facts are backed up. They are all legit. She has done the research. She has done the work. None of that was a lie. This is where we are. Let's try and end on a positive note, can we? I don't know if we can, actually, to be honest with you. Like, everything's shit, and I don't know if it's going to get better. That's the truth. I'd love to tell you something else. So, yeah. Where do we go? I mean, what can I do to tell you that things are going to get better? I can't tell you that and say it with a straight face and know that there's any truth to it. I want them to get that better. I hope they get better. I really would like us to make the world a better place for everybody, but I don't know. I don't know that it will, because there's just so much twisted news coming out these days, and we seem to have handed the reins of power over to despot dictators. Now, Canada has a choice to make. We have a choice to make when we have a liberal leader election coming up. You can go and get yourself, I think today's the deadline, but don't quote me on that. It may have already passed, to get a liberal membership so that you can vote for a liberal leader. The next liberal leader will be the prime minister. For how long? I don't know, whether it's a short term or a long term, or if it's the next election cycle. The election could be called in October, but it doesn't have to be called until the following year in 2026, because it's a 5-year cycle. If there's a non-confidence vote, that could change things, but the vibe of the nation has changed with Mark Carney's announcement. The vibe of the party has changed with his announcement, and the polls reflect it. Again, I'm not a polls guy, but the numbers have taken a sharp drop. Where do we go from here? Well, let's put somebody in power who has our best interests at heart. All right. I'm going to sign off for today. There's Ms. Fox. She'll be on this evening. Mademoiselle Fox, I should say. And I will see you soon. If I can just get my camera to go off here. Bye.